from West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the following is provided by the West Virginia Department of Education and West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Hey everyone, it's Education Station, the show where we invite teachers from all across West Virginia to submit videos of themselves teaching their favorite lessons. In today's episode, we have a winter-themed story, an exciting science lesson, and a spooky Halloween story. Well, hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Alex Milanese, and we're kicking off today's episode with a story that takes place in winter. Miss Jarroll is going to read us a book called A Little Excitement. Let's check it out.
Hi, boys and girls. I'm Lauren Jarroll, and I'm going to read A Little Excitement by Mark Harshman. The illustrations are by Ted Rand, and I wanted to just show you at the beginning of my book, I actually met the author, and he autographed my book for me, and he has written for Lauren a warm story for a cold night. So I hope you enjoy this story, and anytime you get to meet an actual author of the book you're reading, that makes it so much more memorable. Thank you. A Little Excitement by Mark Harshman and illustrated by Ted Rand. And Mark Harshman is a West Virginia author. Isn't that awesome? Winter on Pleasant Ridge had gone on long enough. Sure, I love sledding and snowmen, snowballs and snow forts, but they can be boring, especially when you live so far in the country that your only companions are a pair of older sisters. Half the time they didn't even want to play, and the other half, when they did, they were always too bossy. Mom said maybe I was too fussy. Anyway, I was tired of winter and tired of being bossed. And what else was there? Not much. Get up, go out in the dark, and carry hay while Dad milked. Eat, go to school. Go home and carry hay again. Eat, study, and put up with Annie and Sarah. Not much fun, I can tell you. Annie and Sarah would tease me about the girl that the bus driver made me sit beside. When we played games, it was always them against me, and if I cheated, just to make it fair, they complained. Mom tried. She'd offer to play checkers, and sometimes we did. But you can't tell your friends when they ask what you did last night. Oh, played checkers with Mom. I liked working with Dad, but winter wasn't the fun time for that. Winter was always all mud and buckets and cow manure. And at night after chores, Dad could only slump in his chair, too tired to do much with any of us. I wondered if he would ever get his old summer strength back. Some days it seemed all I could wish for was that there was something exciting might happen. One Sunday, when we visited Grandma after church, I listened to her tell about winters as a girl. She would ride to town on a sleigh behind two black mares. There were blizzards that topped the roof of the old porch, and sometimes her school would be closed for weeks at a time. It all sounded pretty good and lots more exciting than my winter. But when I told her this, she said, "Be careful what you wish for, Willie. You might just get it." Well, I didn't quite understand that. I didn't see why you'd have to be careful. I thought the best thing in the world that could happen to this winter would be a little excitement. Let's see what happens. Mom heard the strange, loud noise first. She woke up Dad, and he ran down the stairs, switched on the light, and saw the glow from the overheated stove. Dad's weariness had caught up with him. When he loaded up the stove with as much wood as it could hold that cold night, he forgot to shut out the air. So, instead of burning slowly, the fire swelled white hot and ignited the tar built up inside the chimney. He hollered everyone awake, but it was Sarah who yelled at me, pulled off my covers, and stumbled beside me down the stairs. Was this what I wished for? Look at that color of the stove. I was cold and the snow lay deep on the hill. In our pajamas we stood shivering, and in the dark at the top of the roof, Outside, the red brick chimney roared a red, thick fire. Dad ran back in and closed the stove and hoped enough air would be stopped to slow the burning. Wow, look at that. Isn't that scary? As the blaze crackled and spit above us, Dad and Annie set up the ladder and I ran for buckets. The heat from the burning tar could crack the chimney and set the house on fire inside, and we couldn't do anything about that. But outside, we could at least make sure that the roof didn't catch fire. We broke ice on the spring and hauled up carefully, that black water to keep the roof safe from sparks and cinders. And while that dark, moonless night was lit by the fiery torch atop our helpless house, there were no jokes but lots of "hurry up" and silence. Side by side with Annie, I worked quietly and hard and quickly to keep the buckets coming to Dad. Later, I saw his hands bloody from fighting to keep a hold on that slippery roof. Roar and whoosh were the sounds the fire made, and I was more scared than excited. While we worked with the water, Mom and Sarah braved the house to pack what we would need if the worst happened, if the whole house burned. Everyone seemed brave that night. I kept thinking how Annie's hands must be frozen like mine, but she never said a word. Eventually, the Piney Volunteer Fire Department gathered. Jimmy up from Adeline and Harry from Dutch Fork, Bob from Closton, and Dan Creary from Sleepy Creek Hollow. They all came in pickup since the pump truck was froze solid over at Dixon's. Neighbors from across the valley and down the ridge would arrive too before it was over. But of course, the first one there was Dad himself. He joked later that no one had ever been quicker than that to a fire, and if they had, he'd eat his Sunday pants. The night was beautiful, all white and black beyond the fire. Somewhere in that black, a deer must have lifted her nose from grass pawed clear of snow, looked over our way and wondered, too smart and too quick to be scared. I felt better when I heard Jimmy and Bob, Harry and Dan shouting and laughing, even when it seemed they shouldn't. But finally we watched the orange flames fall back until 1 hour after it had started, Bob Jackson shone his flashlight down the flue and announced, "She's all gone, folks. Get in the house and go to bed." And of course, we didn't. The firemen and the neighbors, as well as the furniture, crowded back indoors after Bob yelled. And oh, the talk and the food, they were better than Thanksgiving. Mom got coffee while some of the other neighbor ladies laid out cookies. And a wedge of cake they had brought from home. We ate and laughed till we'd nearly forgotten it was early morning, and that a little while ago we had been more scared than we knew. Annie and Sarah and I played without fussing or bossing. I figured now that maybe my fussing had earned me some of their bossing. I was going to remember how brave they were too, and no boy should mind having brave friends, even if they are his sisters. Maybe if the three of us put our heads together, we could even come up with our own excitement. Sunrise came absolutely quiet to our hilltop farm. A new powder of snow had fallen sometime after we got back to sleep. The black ash and soot from the blaze had already disappeared under it. It felt good to see that everything was safe. I hoped when I saw Grandma that she wouldn't mention what she had said on Sunday. Besides, she wouldn't have to worry about reminding me. I'm not likely to forget. The end.
Thanks, Miss Jarroll. Now, I'm sure at some point we've all looked up in the sky and seen some bright, fluffy clouds. But did you know that there are actually several different types of clouds? Well, next up, Miss Sinisi is going to investigate how clouds work. Let's check it out.
Today we're going to look at clouds and the different types of clouds, and then after the video, stay tuned and we'll look at some pictures and maybe a little quiz that we can participate in. This is a picture of the water cycle. And you might have seen this in school, or if you haven't, you will sometime. This is how water moves through our ecosystem, any ecosystem. Here's a tree, there's its roots, right? A tree transpires. That's sort of how it breathes, how it respirates, right? So it puts that oxygen out into, that carbon dioxide, oxygen out into the air. There's the sun on the tree. This is photosynthesis. And then over here is kind of like water, a lake, or some kind of body of water. And as the sun shines down on it, we have evaporation. The water goes up into, as water vapor, into the atmosphere where it condenses. And the part condensation is how we get the clouds. And then once the clouds get so full of condensation, then we have precipitation, right? Sleet, snow, rain, hail, things like that. We can also get this from snow melt. This kind of represents an iceberg, and the snow is melting off of it. And then this, it's called surface runoff. That water seeps into the ground and leads back into the water system. So it's just a big circle. But what we want to concentrate today on are the clouds. And how do clouds form? Well, we have that invisible water vapor in the air. We see this evaporation process, and it goes up into the air, right? And then it condenses, that's our condensation, into visible water droplets or ice crystals, depending on how far up into the atmosphere it is. The air is cooled to what it's called as its dew point. You may see that on TV. The meteorologist gets on and says, today's dew point is 65 degrees. That means that's the point where condensation occurs. So the warmer it is, the more moisture the atmosphere holds, right? So our dew point's going to be high if it's humid, right? And then the air is unable to hold any more of that water. So something has to happen to it. The warmer the air is, the more water vapor it holds. And then we're going to look at the different types of clouds that are holding that water vapor within the atmosphere. All right. There are 10 basic types of clouds. There are hundreds of different clouds, but they all fit into 10 basic categories. So we're looking at the levels from the ground in the atmosphere where they are first. The lowest level are the clouds that we would see below 6,500 feet, right? Those are cumulus, stratus, and stratocumulus clouds. Then we go up a little bit more and we see the middle level, right? That's after 6,500 and before 20,000. So those are the next level clouds: altocumulus, nimbostratus, and altostratus. Alto means middle. If you sing, you hear people that sing in alto, that's the middle range. Alto means middle. And then the high level clouds, anything above 20,000 feet. If you've ever been in a plane, you're up 30,000 feet, you're up where these clouds are: the cirrus clouds, the cirrocumulus clouds, and the cirrostratus clouds. So let's look at each of the basic 10 types individually. The first one we're going to look, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about the cumulonimbus clouds. Those are the ones that tower across all three of those parts of the atmosphere: the lower, the middle, and the high. So those are the only cloud type that covers all three of these combined. The first type are the cumulus clouds, and the tops of those clouds are rounded and kind of puffy. They look like, to me, like cotton balls, right? And they're brilliant white when the sun shines on them. They're very white, and the bottoms are flat and dark. So sort of yesterday when I was driving home, that's sort of what they look like. On the bottom it was kind of dark, and then the top were those big fluffy clouds. The second type of clouds are stratus clouds, and this is just a tree, and this represents sort of like a dark, foggy kind of a cloud. They hang low in the sky. They're flat and featureless, meaning we can't really see anything about them. They're uniform, how this is all one layer of a grayish cloud, and they kind of resemble fog. Stratocumulus clouds are low, and they're puffy, gray or white, so I sort of drew some here, and they're patchy within the sky, right? We can see light come in between. I drew this cacti here. And then altocumulus, those are the most common clouds we see in the middle atmosphere. Remember I told you alto means middle. So they're white or gray patches that dot the sky in large round masses or parallel bands. See how these are running in parallel, side by side, parallel bands. Nimbostratus cover the sky in a dark gray layer. Sometimes you walk outside and that's just like it's overcast and everything seems gray. They're thick enough to blot out the sun. So we may not be able to see the sun shining through this type of cloud. Essentially, we call those rain clouds. So when you walk outside and you say, it looks like it's going to rain, those would be the type of clouds that you would see out in the sky, rain clouds. High up we have the altostratus. This is the sun, and these kind of block out the sun. They're bluish or grayish sheets of clouds, and they can either partially block out the sun or totally cover the sky at those mid-levels in the middle of represents the ground, right? We have cirrus, and cirrus is Latin for curl of hair. Those look like little wispy curls, like a truss of hair. They're very thin and they're white and wispy, and they streak across the sky. We see those when the weather's nice, during fair weather, right? It'll be sunny outside and the temperature's nice. We would see that type of cloud. Cirrocumulus clouds are small white patches of clouds, and these are arranged in rows at a high altitude, and usually they're made of ice crystals. We'll see those in the winter. The ice crystals are usually a little bit colder. The higher we go in the atmosphere, the colder it is. So instead of water droplets, there would be ice. These would be made of ice crystals. The cirrostratus clouds are transparent whitish clouds that will veil and cover nearly the entire sky, like a veil on a bride, right? It covers her face. So they would veil that. We could look for what's called a halo, and I kind of drew a halo here. Here's the sun and some bushes, and there's the sky, and that's a halo, like an angel wears a halo, right? And that's a ring or circle of light, and it's either around the sun or the moon. In this case, it's around the sun. A halo is formed by the refraction of the light on the ice crystals in the clouds. Refraction is when we see light hit something and bounce back off. It refracts, right? So essentially, we have these ice crystals that are in these clouds, and that sun is coming up, and then that's refracting that light back. These are seen when there's a large amount of moisture is present in the air, usually when we have a warm front that's approaching, right? I told you warm air, a lot of moisture. The warmer it is, the more moisture that it holds, the warmer that the air is. The colder it is, the less moisture it holds. And the last one of those cumulonimbus clouds, they resemble cumulus clouds because they form from those, except what they do is they rise way up. So those cumulus clouds we saw at a low below 6,500 feet. Well, these would span the entire way up to 20,000 feet, right? They're kind of like towers, and it says they look like cauliflower, if you know what cauliflower is. And typically we would see these, see how it's dark here over the mountains? Those are thunderstorm clouds, so that you would know, you can see them off in a distance. Sometimes you can even see rain coming out of them, because what happens is when so much of that condenses, it becomes super saturated. Like if you put a cotton ball down into the water and you lift it up, it can't hold any more water, so it comes out. So that's when the thunderstorm would occur. There isn't any more moisture that these clouds can hold, so it has to release it somewhere. It'll release it back down into the atmosphere and fall down to earth as precipitation. So stay tuned after this video and look at some of the pictures of the different clouds.
Thanks, Miss Sinisi. Now for our final segment today, since Halloween is just around the corner, Mrs. Milanese is going to read a fun Halloween story. Let's check it out.
Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Milanese, and today I'm going to be reading you a story. I found this story on an app called Epic. Epic is a free app that you can download onto a phone, tablet, or iPad, and there are tons of stories to choose from. I chose a really cool one for us today, so let's check it out. This book is called Fluffy's Trick or Treat. It's written by Kate McCullen and illustrated by Mavis Smith. Fluffy's Trick. Saturday is Halloween, said Miss Day. Who would like to take Fluffy home for the Halloween weekend? Me, 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 all the kids called out. When you're hot, thought Fluffy. And I am one hot pig. How about you, Emma, said Miss Day. All right, said Emma. Lucky you, thought Fluffy. On Saturday afternoon, Jasmine came over to Emma's house. The girls made fancy treat bags. This is your treat bag, Fluffy, said Emma. Treat, thought Fluffy. Did someone say treat? Let's put on our costumes, said Emma. She put on a clown outfit. Jasmine dressed up as a tightrope walker. We have a circus costume for you too, Fluffy, said Emma. Huh? Thought Fluffy. Emma picked up one of her dolls. She took off the doll's swimsuit. Jasmine held it up. I think this will fit him, she said. Him who? Thought Fluffy. Jasmine picked up Fluffy. Emma tried to put Fluffy's feet through the legs of the swimsuit. Fluffy kicked like crazy. Oh, stop it, Fluffy, said Emma. There, all dressed. It doesn't get any worse than this, thought Fluffy. Jasmine put the doll's swim cap on Fluffy. Okay, this is worse, thought Fluffy. Much worse. Emma picked up a stuffed horse and she put Fluffy on its back. Fluffy, the bareback rider, said Emma. Bear, thought Fluffy. Did someone say bear? Stand up on the horse's back, Emma told Fluffy. Why would I want to do that? Thought Fluffy. Come on, Fluffy, said Jasmine. Do your trick. Anything to get this over with, thought Fluffy. Fluffy slowly stood up. Ride him, Fluffy, said Jasmine. What a great trick, said Emma. Right, thought the bareback rider Fluffy. Now, where's my treat? Fluffy rides again. Emma put on clown makeup and Jasmine put on tightrope walker makeup. Your turn, Fluffy, said Emma. Thought Fluffy, not this pig. Fluffy doesn't need makeup, said Jasmine. Phew, thought Fluffy. Emma picked up the treat bag. She said, let's go trick-or-treating. Go out, thought Fluffy. Like this? Just then Emma's dog Skippy came into the room. Hey, let's dress Skippy up, said Jasmine. He can come trick-or-treating with us. Emma put a t-shirt on Skippy. Jasmine tied a scarf around his neck. Skippy the circus dog, said Emma. Skippy didn't seem to mind. He wagged his tail. Skippy looks silly, thought Fluffy. But I look sillier. The girls walked to the house next door. Emma rang the doorbell. A mom and a little boy opened the door. Trick or treat, said Emma and Jasmine. Hello, circus girls, said the mom. Can your circus dog do a trick? Sure, said Emma. Watch. Sit up, circus dog, said Emma. Skippy sat up. Shake hands, circus dog, said Emma. Skippy held out a paw. Go to sleep, circus dog, said Emma. Skippy lay down. He put his paws over his eyes. Nice doggy, said the little boy. Fluffy can do a trick too, said Emma. Now you're talking, thought Fluffy. Emma put Fluffy onto the stuffed horse. Fluffy stood up. Ta-da, he thought. Nice Mousie, said the little boy. Mousie, thought Fluffy. He can't mean me. Treat time, said the mom. The girls opened their treat bags. They opened Fluffy's treat bag too. The little boy put candy into the bags. Can we go home now, thought Fluffy. The girls went to the next house and Jasmine rang the bell. A dad with two little girls opened the door. Emma and Jasmine said, trick or treat. We can show you circus tricks, Emma said. Skippy did his tricks. The dad and the little girl clapped. Then it was Fluffy's turn. Watch this, thought Fluffy. He stood on the stuffed horse's back. He bent over and spread his arms. He raised one leg out behind him. He pointed his toes. Ta-da, thought Fluffy. That's not so hard, said one girl. The girls gave out treats. Fluffy's treat bag was filling up, but Fluffy didn't care. No one liked his trick. At every house, Skippy did his tricks. Everyone clapped and cheered, but no one clapped for Fluffy. I will show them, thought Fluffy. I will be a real bareback rider. At the next house, Emma put Fluffy onto the stuffed horse, but Fluffy jumped onto Skippy's back. Fluffy, cried Emma. Skippy just wagged his tail. Ta-da, thought Fluffy. Just then, Skippy saw a squirrel, and he ran into the backyard after it. Fluffy bounced up and down on Skippy's back. He rolled over and over. Fluffy grabbed Skippy's tail. He held on tight. Yikes, thought the bareback rider Fluffy. Skippy ran to a tree. He jumped up. He barked at the squirrel. Bareback rider Fluffy bounced some more, but he held on. Emma and Jasmine ran to Skippy. Emmy grabbed his collar. She got him to settle down. Jasmine picked up Fluffy. Fluffy, she said, are you all right? Sure, thought bareback rider Fluffy, just don't ask to see that trick again. Fluffy's treat bag. I have to take Skippy home, Emma said. Let's go, said Jasmine. Our treat bags are full anyway. Fluffy's treat bag is really full. It is, thought Fluffy. Oh boy. The circus girls started for home and they saw two pirates walking toward them. One pirate was Wade, the other was Jared from Mr. Lee's class. He had a parrot on his shoulder. Jasmine took a closer look. The parrot was Kiss. Fluffy, said Jasmine, look who's here. She held up bareback rider Fluffy up to Parrot Kiss. The two pigs looked at each other. I promise not to tell anyone how silly you look, said Fluffy. If you promise not to tell anyone how silly I look. Deal, said Kiss. The girls went back to Emma's house. They took off Fluffy's swim cap. Ah, thought Fluffy, that's better. The girls emptied out the treat bag onto the kitchen counter. Don't eat too many treats, girls, said Emma's mom. Save room for some of my soup. Here are your treats, Fluffy, said Emma. Fluffy ran over to his treats. He sniffed at them. They smelled funny. These are not good treats for a pig, thought Fluffy. Fluffy sniffed the air and he smelled something good to eat. He scurried off to find it. The girls were busy sorting their treats. They did not see him. Fluffy sniffed at a grocery bag. He poked his head inside. Aha, thought Fluffy. He crawled inside. Emma's mom put an onion into the pot of soup. She reached into the bag for the carrots. Ah, she cried. Emma and Jasmine ran over to her bag. They looked into the grocery bag. Hi there, thought Fluffy. He bit into a carrot. Now this is what I call a treat bag, thought Fluffy. Happy Halloween.
Thanks, Mrs. Milanese. All right, well, that wraps up everything for us here today on Education Station. We want to thank everyone who shared their awesome lessons. And we want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Education Station.